Samantha. Welcome to Miracles Happen.
Hi, thanks for having me.
I am so glad you're here. This is a really, really important topic to talk about. And as you said, there are a lot more people going, Samantha, talk to us about this lately. So I really hope the interest has risen and people have a realization of
Yes,
what's
yes.
happening for them. So can you tell us a little bit about yourself? Like, give us a brief bio. Who are you? What do you do?
Brief bio. Hi. Yeah, my name is Samantha, and I am really a women's health and fitness coach, but I am really focused on helping people that are highly active kind of take it down a notch. So it's like counterintuitive to what what most people go into fitness coaching for. But I want to work with women who love working out, who are highly active, but need to scale it back to actually see results and boost their fertility, because that highly active lifestyle is not conducive for fertility. And many women like myself don't find that out until they are looking at IVF, they're looking at fertility treatments, they think it's unexplained, and it's actually tied to their workouts and lifestyle, which they thought was super healthy. So I help them kind of flip that around.
Yes. Okay. Simply put. And can you tell us about your own, like you said, you didn't really even know about this infertility until, right, until you were trying to conceive. So can you tell us your story and who you're
Yeah.
about and why you chose to do this work?
Yeah, so I was a personal trainer and running coach. I ran marathons. That was my drug of choice, was endurance running, and I loved it. I lived in Chicago at the time, which is a very big running city. I mean, it's flat, so that helps.
Yeah.
And now I've moved to Asheville since then, and I don't go as far. But I just fell in love with the sport and loved it. I saw it as a stress relief, as me time. I mean, obviously, I really believed in it. I was coaching marathon runners that were training for the Chicago Marathon. I was into personal training. Um, and I went off the pill in, February of 2016. And it was a month after my seventh marathon. And it was like, okay, this might be my last marathon for a little bit while we try to get pregnant. And nothing happened. I did not get a period right away, which my OB told me, don't be shocked if you go off the pill and you don't get it in the first month. And so I wasn't. But after 3 months with nothing, it was like, okay. And this wasn't like no spotting, no cramps, no nothing. Nothing
Oh,
changed.
yeah.
Yeah. And, I had been on it for about 13 years straight at that
Yeah.
point. It
Wow.
worked for me. I didn't feel any side effects. What it was doing was masking the fact that my period was gone.
Yes.
Yeah. So, we did the Provera challenge, which is to induce a bleed. We did it twice with nothing.
Wow.
Yeah. So at that point, she says, there it could be a number of things. She mentioned my running because I told her I ran. And she said, you might need to back off the running, but, I'm not sure exactly what's going on, but it's a red flag that you're not getting a period.
Mhm.
So I saw a specialist, and that was really scary because I assume going in, it's going to be a very quick, so naive. This is what's wrong. Do
Yeah.
this one thing, we'll get you pregnant. Um, we checked to see if my tubes were open and all of that, things that I did not even think about. And everything looked good except I had no uterine lining. So I had no estrogen. And that's what was going on, was that everything looked good except my hormones were so suppressed. So I had nothing to bleed out.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah. And so he mentions, he says, estrogen needs body fat. You're clearly low body fat. I mean, I was a personal trainer, so I had calipers. So I knew around where I was in measuring clients. I was around, like, let's say 12 to 14%. It was really low.
Yeah. And
And so
calipers are those
the little pinchy,
yeah.
yeah, real fun things, right? I threw them away. um, and and so he said, estrogen needs body fat. You probably need to gain a couple pounds and maybe stop running as much. Well, for someone who is a runner
Oh,
and a running
yes.
coach, that
Yes.
is like my brain kind of just stopped. It's like, wait, what?
Yeah. So like stop breathing. Hmm.
Yes, yeah,
Yeah.
exactly. This is what I do. And hey, this is a stressful time. We're trying to get pregnant, and this is
Yes.
what I kind of go towards. This is my meditation time.
Love running.
And there was no direction on, what does cut back mean to you versus me versus a,
That's a good point.
it's like there was no cut back is so subjective.
Right. No
And
20%, no.
yes, right, exactly. And gain weight, okay, how much am I looking to gain? And why is that? How exactly is it? What exactly is happening? Which I didn't know. And through all of this, he never changed it. It turned out to be hypothalamic amenorrhea. I was marked as unexplained infertility. Like,
oh gosh.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah.
Oh my goodness.
And I don't know, because clearly he knew running has something to do with it, but he never named it. Yeah.
Wow. Okay.
So, he knows most of this, but to not give it a name, makes me think this is an aspect of it. Like, I don't know. Right. But the biggest thing was not being given so much direction. And like I said, it was part of who I am. And to not have that mental support during it, that's like, go do it on your own, right? It's why, it's just going through fertility treatments alone helps to have someone to talk to, much less change this big part of your life and put on weight and change what you do for exercise. On top of it was like,
oh my God. Yeah.
Okay. And don't stress, right? Because that's not good for fertility.
Don't stress about it.
Yeah, just like don't think about it. So we, I cut back a little bit. Over the months I cut back I was doing around 30 miles a week. Because I wasn't training for a race. I wasn't marathon training at this time. Mm-hmm. So I was still averaging around 30 miles a week, and I cut that back to about 10. So that was a huge cut, but I'm still running 3 times a week. It's not 5, so that's less. And I put on maybe 10 pounds, and this was over the course of like 6 months. Yeah. So it was not drastic. It was not quick. And we did, we had 5, tried to do 5 rounds of IUI. We got to do 1. The rest were canceled because I was not progressing. The follicles weren't getting larger. It was just, I was not responding. I would somewhat respond, but not enough to do an IUI. Mm-hmm. So this is, by this point, we're in like December, January. So this was, I went off the pill in February. So we're towards the end of the year. And then we're looking at IVF because he's like, I don't want to give you more and do an IUI. I don't want you to have triplets. Let's look at IVF. So yeah, that was a big change, and it got, it snowballed so quickly, I felt like. So I had continued with the cutback and running. I was running still about 3 times a week. But I still had this fear of gaining too much, right? It was, I don't know how much I need to gain. I don't know exactly what's going on. So I was eating more, but it wasn't as much as it should be. I didn't know how much I should be having. Mm-hmm. And that's ridiculous considering I'm a marathon coach and I don't know how much someone really needs. I didn't trust how much we really need. Mm-hmm. Based on everything that we're told, right? Yeah. It's so different. We need so much more, even if you're not exercising. But so we
you couldn't tell you.
Right. So we in March, we did the egg retrieval, and we ended up with 2 embryos, and we did the first FET and frozen transfer in April, and it was a chemical. Okay. So we found that very early on. It was like a low HCG, and then 2 days later it went down. But it did show that my body could get pregnant. So it's like, okay, these things are working. You look for any silver lining, right? It was like, these things are working. And that same night I went to this event. I tell this a lot because I'm so glad that I went, and just to find how important it is to find like community with whatever exactly you're going through. And so it was the fertility event, and I had already bought a ticket, or I probably would not have gone. I mean, I just found out it was a chemical pregnancy. We have one embryo left. I'm like not in the best mood. But I went, and I honestly had an amazing night. I really had a good time. But I talked to another doctor, and she said, "Oh, that sounds kind of hypo." So I'm like, "What's that?" And so she mentions hypothalamic amenorrhea. We don't get into a ton of detail. You know, we're at this nice event, and so we exchanged information. I got her card. But then I looked everything up, and it is why I do what I do and why I do these podcasts, is because it was like, check, that's me.
Holy shit.
Yeah.
That's me.
And now I can read about it. And now and there was this instant thought of like, oh my God, I did that. Like, this is not a block tube. This is not that I did this to myself. And it was like, oh my God, I'm the reason we're having to do this. But then it was like, okay, well, now I know what I need to change.
Nice.
And I know why. I knew what's going on. And so that was big. It was like, okay, if I'm in control of this, I need to really get serious about it. I need to stop running. And so I stopped running totally before our final transfer. And it worked. I think there was a lot of mindset shift around that. I think that, not like I went taking it seriously before, but I didn't really exactly know what I needed to do. And some women could maybe just cut back on their running and get their period back or get pregnant. But like it clearly wasn't working for me. Like I needed to stop. and I do think that I needed to stop to show myself that I could be fine without running at all, and that I could take a break and come back. Because I do think, I ran for over 10 years. It was like, I ended up taking about 11 months totally, I did not run through the entire pregnancy. I was like, let me just do this and use this as a clean break. But I still consider myself a runner, even though I wasn't, I took this under a year off versus over 10 years of running. Like, I'm not a runner anymore, and I still run now, just not as much. But I think that I really had to do that to fully realize what my body will do without running. If I relied on it this long, how your body will change with more calories, what actually happens, not what you're afraid of happening. And so I really proved a lot to myself, and now I can prove it to other women of like, hey, look, it's not nearly as scary as you think it's going to be. You're not going to balloon up and that's not recognizable. Like, you're going to get to a healthy weight is what's like actually going to happen.
And how empowering is that?
Yeah. Oh, it makes it so much easier.
Yeah. I can even hear in what you're talking about, these subtle, mind shifts. Yeah, looking for the silver lining, but it's truth, right? It's true.
Yeah.
And you're not going to balloon up. You're not going to gain 80 pounds or 100 pounds or something. And you actually have more freedom and more control than you thought that you did.
Yes. Oh my God. Yeah. It really comes down to like, if what you're doing isn't working, do you want to keep doing it? And I think that's the fear of letting go, but it's like, well, is it really that great? This is just what you know.
Right.
Yeah.
When you know better, you do better, which is where you come in, right?
Yes.
Yeah. So can you tell us about now you talked about, individuals, right? So obviously everybody has a different sort of need around this.
Yeah.
Can you talk about, in general, what your basic recommendations are for nutrition and exercise?
Yeah, and it's so hard because, you do want like that exact number, right? I know. I did too. I get it. I did too.
Right. No.
Right. But in general, the biggest takeaway that I learned was like, we need way more calories than we think we do. Okay. If you are not getting a period, or maybe it's not totally gone, but if your luteal phase, that time between your ovulation and your period, if that is really short, or if your periods are very long, 45, 60 days, and you're recognizing these, like, I do a lot of high intensity exercise, like this is sounding like you, I kind of restrict my calories. That could be what's going on. And these fixes can get it back on track without the pill. Doctors want to put you on a pill. But try these things first,
Yep.
And eating I read the book No Period Now What. Nicola Rinaldi is
Huh?
amazing. She recommends 2,500 calories a day. I honestly don't count anymore, and I'm not even sure what it was when I got my postpartum period back. I don't know what I was eating, but I wasn't restricting at all. I mean, it just shows that I was eating what I wanted to eat. So that might be 2,200 for you. That might be 25, but I guarantee it's like 22 minimum if you're even if you're not working out.
Not
And
1,200 or
right, oh my God, not
no.
16, not 18. You need more. Um, and so to trust that, to really not restrict, because what's happening is the hypothalamus, and it is sensing that you're not getting enough food and you're doing too much exercise, you're at an energy deficit, so it's going to suppress your hormones. And that's the basics of what is happening.
Yeah.
So if you can just really think of that of, I need to make sure my body is getting the calories that it needs. I mean, you're trying to make a baby.
Right.
You need more than just what you need, right? And just knowing that high intense exercise is also a stress.
Yeah. Yep.
So I recommend cutting out high intensity exercise. Now I continued to do body weight exercises. I was doing some strength training, walking, yoga, all amazing things. So it's not like you can't move. It is just take out the CrossFit, take out the HIIT, take out the running, at least cut it back. But I think you should just take it out.
Yeah.
You can add it back in. It is not forever. I mean, that's the biggest thing of like, you feel like, oh my God, what am I going to do if I can't run?
Yeah.
You might take it out for 2 months and get your period back. So it really is just this like recovery phase. So your body is trusting you. But really, I mean, two biggest takeaways: eat at least 2,200 every day. I think that we tie workouts to calories, but every day you should be eating that much, and take out the high intensity training.
Perfect.
Yeah.
Really
Yeah.
useful guidelines to start with. It also sounds like you're saying, hey, you really have to be, now, okay, so I'm a giant mindfulness fan over here. So I'm speaking from this angle, but it sounds to me that this is what you did, is that you paid attention to what your body needed, right? So you didn't have to count out 2,200 calories. You went,
Right.
am I hungry? Do I want this apple? Yeah, I do. Yeah.
Yeah.
The body needs it right now. Which could be very similar to exercise, right? Do I need the restorative yoga right now, or do I want,
don't push through. That's and the hardest thing, which is why I coach women through this at any phase, whether they've just lost it or they're trying to get it back or they recently got it back, whatever it is, if they've had that overtraining and undereating, you can't trust your signal. You can't trust your hunger cues because you've been ignoring them. So it really is, sometimes it does help to, and I don't like counting calories, but I would say if you have been restrictive and counting, see what 2,500 looks like, and then just try to get that amount of food. So you don't have to count every day, but you're seeing where you can add in calories. It's the opposite of dieting. Instead of seeing where you can cut, see where you can kind of sneak calories in is really what you're trying to do, just so that your body's getting it. It's going to start making repairs. I mean, you hadn't been able to repair all the work you've been doing. You're not, if you're getting up early to get a long run in, and like once or twice is fine, but when you were routinely doing that, you've got this chronic stress. Cortisol is just like always in your bloodstream. Yeah. And so you're really not allowing yourself to do those repairs.
Yeah. Repair and recovery. Yes. And this sort of moves into the next thing that I wanted to ask you. Not sort of, it totally does. We're talking about, being mindful and clear about intake and output, right? And the next topic is obsession. Because it's so easy to get obsessed around, right?
Yes.
So if you can, just like riff on the obsession thing. Like, tell us everything.
It's a slippery slope. And I think that the message we get is that exercise is good, which it is. But we take that to be, I have to always try to lose weight.
Yeah.
I have to make sure workouts are my number one priority. well past when you've got, we see it as willpower, but it's like if you're never taking any like social invites because
Yes.
it interfere with your workouts, if you are afraid to go to different restaurants or you only order the same thing, if you've got a lot of food rules, it really quickly morphs into restriction and obsessiveness and control, versus I'm trying to eat a little healthier when it's I only eat the healthiest thing on the menu, whether it's what I want or not. I mean, that is just this red flag of it's gone too far. If that is your only goal, right? If you're not enjoying it anymore. Um, I feel like I talk to a lot of women and I was the same, you start to feel like your workouts are kind of like they're mandating your schedule. It's not like, oh, can I, get this workout in? It's, well, this is when my workout is. I'm going to create everything else around that all the time.
Right.
Yeah. And so it's really fast because we're kind of praised for being so, having such willpower, being so diligent, or have we lost weight? And it's just this diet culture mentality that comes out, and that's what you get praised for. And then you're afraid, well, if I stop doing this,
Yeah.
I mean, it's this identity thing when you go to change. If you have to cut back, if you have to gain weight, what if I'm not the woman with the six pack anymore? What if I'm not known as a runner? If I'm not the healthy eater anymore? If if I'm not the fit one, where does that like leave you?
Yeah.
And so you kind of
Lost.
all
Yeah.
of your identity in there. Right. It's if that is all you're reading about, or you're thinking about, or you're listening to, or you talk about, that's who your friends are. You kind of built this cocoon around yourself, and it's very, you can't really compare it to the rest of the world because you're comparing yourself to your friends that are all runners, or
Right.
it's like, well, it
Right.
seems normal because that's what they're all doing, and that
Yeah.
that's what we talk about.
Interesting that you said at the very beginning of this recording too, that was running was my drug of choice, right? It kind of sounds like a drug culture, right? Like
It
um,
is.
I have to be around the same people, and right, it's yeah. I like
Yeah.
how you put it too. If you start realizing that everything else is scheduled around the working out,
Yeah.
then you realize it's obsession.
It is if you I was under the impression that, oh, well, I take rest days. Well, I took planned rest days, but I did not take unplanned rest days. So
Mm-hmm.
think about, I mean, if you're listening to this, how do you feel if you couldn't work out one day? Is there extreme guilt over that? Even if it's because like you're sick,
Mm-hmm.
whatever it is, if there's like, I mean, God, now with Corona and gyms were closed and it sent some people in a tailspin and some people it really opened their eyes to,
Mm-hmm.
oh, that was my life, or I'm freaking out because I can't get to the gym.
Mm-hmm.
When there's a pandemic going on and your freak out is, I can't get my workout in. I can't go to that boot camp class. What am I going to do? Um, because I had extreme guilt if I were to cut a workout short, if I didn't feel like it was hard enough. You tie your workouts or how much you exercise to what you're eating. Well, I can eat this much because I did a long run today. And like that is the only reason you feel okay, having what you want off the menu is because you ran 15 miles. And it really should not equate that way. But we're led to believe it should. I mean, think of all the posts and magazine articles you see on like, well, this piece of food, it takes this many jumping jacks to burn off.
Oh, heck
They
yeah.
do it for us.
All
So,
over Pinterest.
yes, of course we think that way, but that's not right. It's common to see that, but it's not normal. It's not a normal way of thinking. It's not a healthy way of
Not a
thinking.
healthy way, right? It might be
Yeah.
normal,
Yeah.
unfortunately.
It's normalized it. Yeah.
Yeah, but it's certainly unhealthy. And when you're attempting to conceive, I love that neutral phrase. It's just not working. It's just
Yeah.
not working.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah. And it's just right now. I mean, I think this big fear because we're so in our routines. I mean, the women I work with, the women I talk to in my Facebook group, like we are type A planners. We like
yeah.
control. And that's okay. But we need to know how we can loosen it and be okay with that. Because
Right.
this is just a phase. I think we see this thing as I have to stop doing this, or I have to gain some weight, or I can't work out as much. Oh my God, this is my life. This is forever. And it's not. I mean, even if it's 6 months, it's that of your life, right? To get back on track. But you've got this red flag if you're not getting
Yeah.
a healthy period. And like I said, maybe it's not totally missing, but if you're identifying with what I'm saying and you've been trying for a long time and it's not working, if your ovulation's all over the place, I mean, it is directly tied to ovulatory dysfunction, high intensity exercise. It's time and time again, all the research points to this isn't good for a healthy cycle.
That's it, bottom line.
Yeah.
Did you find that once you conceived, and oh, by the way, you have a son named Owen. I also have a son named Owen. I'm like, okay.
It's a great name. We were down to two. We didn't decide until he came out. And I was like, yes, this is it. It's a wonderful name.
Yeah. But I'm curious about you. Did you find that, because you're like, this is only temporary. Did you find that some of the new sort of, I don't know what the right word would be, like looser habits stayed with you, or did you go right back to the, nope, I need to run, I need to blah, blah, blah?
Oh, that is an excellent question. So I did not go back. And the biggest mindset shift I had, which was before the transfer that worked, I talk about these damn Facebook memories that would pop up. So as I was cutting back, I would see these memories and it would be me at a marathon finish. It would be me doing a long run. It would be me in a bathing suit and I was super lean. And I kept thinking, oh, I can't wait to get back to that, to be that fast again, to be that lean again. And those kept being my thoughts. And then one day it was like, do I really want to, like, was that all perfect? Was that great? Because at the same time, any body hangups I have now, I had then.
Mm-hmm.
So it was like, oh, if I like could still find things that I didn't love all the time and I was like not getting a period because of it, then like maybe that wasn't a great, maybe I don't need to go back there. And then I just kept thinking of, there's a lot of stress around getting 30 miles a weekend if we were going on vacation, or if, it was like, okay, I would work out more before, I would try to make up for it. And it was like, man, that would be nice to like not care about that. and it doesn't mean you don't, like, I still love working out. I still love going for a run. But when I went for a run yesterday, it was because it felt great in the morning. My husband was off so he could be with Owen and I could like have 30 minutes to myself. And I don't even take my Garmin anymore. It's like, I feel like going for a run. It's Sunday, I need to run 5 miles. So it's just this different, you're still running, but it's a totally different approach.
Yeah.
And it's
really sound like
there's not guilt there.
Therapeutic. Yeah.
Yeah. So, and it's that fine line. It's like, it's okay even to have, physique goals. It's okay to love a good workout, but it's making sure you're doing it because it is a full body, yes, I want to do this. Yes, this feels good today, versus this is what I have to get in. This is my plan. No, like we can't go on a hike, and we live in the mountains now, which is why we moved here. Mm-hmm. I'm not going to put off a hike to get to a gym class.
Right.
That's bananas. It's like, it was beautiful and we're going to go on a hike. Okay, that's our exercise for the day.
Right. Like, I feel like, by the way, this is really good planning, and you can speak to this really well. So let me know if I'm wrong. But it sounds like this is a really good way to practice when you are a parent, because, little Owen is not going to be like, oh, okay, you want me to nap now? No problem, Mom. Right. 37 minutes, done. Okay, now what do you want me to do? Oh, you want me to play with my toys? Okay, no problem. Okay, I'm going to lay down, no problem.
Totally. It is. It would be so much more stress around, can I get this in? Whereas now, if I'm obviously working out from home. I haven't been to the gym since all this began. But I'm still working out, and I'll do a video. I'll usually do it while he's eating lunch. So that means every 5 minutes I am pausing it to come help him with something. And it's like that, but I'm getting it in. And like, I'm 100% fine with that, instead of, this is my time, I have to go. Right. And it doesn't drive me crazy. It's like, okay, I know what this is. I would like to do this video. This seems to be the best time. So we'll see how much I can do. I mean, because you're right, you can't, I mean, take, even when I did take him to the Y and he was in childcare, I mean, it wasn't a lot, but you know, it happened where they come and get you.
Sure.
What are you going to tell them? No, I have to finish. I've got 20 more minutes. Like, let him cry. Like, no, it's like, okay, I guess I'm done now. And
That's right.
got in what I got in. Yeah.
The obsessive version might be, we'll handle it because I've got 12 more minutes. And
Right. Or, yeah. Or you get home and I'm going to have to finish this at home. It's like, okay, it was 12 minutes that you didn't get. Your body's not going to change because of that. That was one day. But I mean, I would definitely have eaten differently before or tried to make up for it instead of, okay, God, is he teething? What is, like, let's focus on this now. What is happening?
Right. So really good practice for when folks do conceive and carry baby to term. And
because you need to listen to your body when you're pregnant. I mean, that's the other thing of, once I was pregnant, once I hit that, I was so paranoid after going through IVF, but I started lifting weights again when I hit the second trimester, and I did weights. But I'm not pushing myself through that. If I feel like I need to slow down, if I feel like I'm done, I'm going to listen, and so it's good practice for that instead of, no, this is what I came here to do. It's like, no, if you're done, you're done. Yeah.
And to be okay with that
and to be okay with it and not feel guilty. Yeah. It's much easier.
Yeah, so much easier. And what a way to live, right? Like, you're actually living rather than just obsessing constantly.
Oh, that is, I did and I want to offer it again, but I did a body image workshop. It was a 90-minute call. We had some amazing conversation on it. And I'm going to put it up on my website as just a course you can download because it was really powerful. But, one of the questions I asked, I'm like, what would you, if your body image and workout and eating was not at the forefront of your mind, if that was not a problem for you, if you had more body confidence, like what would be different about your day? What would you do differently? What would you wear? How would you talk? And 2 women said this, and they said, well, I would be fully present when my husband was talking to me because I would be focused on what he's saying instead of your head somewhere else. It was like, oh my God, yes. Like that is truly living in the now instead of, okay, but like, when am I gonna XYZ? It's like, no, like you want to live your life. And it sounds so extreme, but that's the change you get. I mean, I feel like every woman I talk to that once they get their period back, I mean, it's not just, that's like a side effect. Like that's a bonus of this change that they go into it to get the period back or to get pregnant. But once one of those things happens, they got their life back. Like you got so much more than just like a healthy cycle.
That's right.
That's a pregnancy test. It's like, oh, I'm like not restricted. I'm not cold all the time.
Yeah.
Like I'm not constantly thinking about food. I'm letting other people cook for me without, I had a conversation with someone today about that of, it's like, what is your, brag for the week? And she was like, oh, I let my husband cook last night and I didn't like micromanage it.
Nice.
All these little things that really ease up a lot of stress. I mean, you talk about stress.
Yeah. That really aren't little. I mean, that's really big. That's
yes.
So I hope people get to feel that when they do this work.
Yes. Oh,
can we expand on body image a little bit? I'm curious about not only prepping to conceive, but also pregnancy, because obviously some things change in pregnancy. So I would love the link to that download if you're going to.
Yes, I'll send it to you. Because it was, I mean, the whole reason I wanted to do this workshop was like, well, that's the underlying thing of all of this. Body image. And one, tactical tool, which obviously if you're pregnant, you're going to get new clothes. But if you're going to need to gain some weight, and like I said, I gained between 10 and 15 pounds. It is not, and I posted a side-by-side picture the other day and all the comments were like, I don't see a difference.
So what's the difference?
It's so much is in your head. So you might not even need new clothes, but to get comfortable clothes, because another stressor is having a closet full of clothes that you don't want to put on because they might be tight and you don't want to address that. So get comfortable clothes that fit. Like, this is your goal, is I might have to put on some weight. So get clothes you feel good in, because body confidence, it comes from like, how do I feel? And not even just how do you look, but how do you feel in your clothes? So you want something, you want at least a handful of items, and you can get them at consignment. You don't need to drop thousands.
Right.
But make sure you have a couple things that you feel good in. So it just makes it so much easier. So that's one like very tactical thing. But I feel like gratitude is a big thing. And I mean, I feel like it's one of those things like, oh yeah, gratitude, but it puts your mind to see the bigger picture.
Yeah.
So I like to do it. I do it morning and evening. I mean, do at least one. In the morning, I will write a couple down, like write 3 things down. And then right before, super small. But I've really liked saying them out loud at night. Is I'll just say a few things I'm grateful for. One of it's like where we live. I'm grateful for this home. I love where we live. And so just keeping that in my mind. I'm grateful that my husband and I are a team. I'm grateful that I have that, because you overlook all of this stuff that's going on in your life and focus on this one thing. And it's like, well, I've got a lot. That's not all that's going on. So to really, you have to keep doing it. You have to do it every day, or it slips to the background and you don't think about it. You have to keep, and then it becomes easier. That's the thing. Once you're doing it every day, it means when I'm going on a walk, I'm not walking thinking, what am I grateful for? But I'm walking and I catch a view and I'm like, oh my God, I love living here. Like, it just pops in my head because I think about it all the time, and so to have those thoughts more accessible instead of negative is big. And really just negative thinking, just thinking that every time you have that negative thought, you're just deepening that pathway in your brain. I mean, it becomes a habit. So if you can, at the very least, stop the spiral, it's not like you're going to, I had this conversation in the workshop. It's not like you're going to reach this nirvana state where you will never think anything negatively about how you look. You're going to try something on, right? You're going to try something on, be like, oh, this doesn't fit right, or something. But that's fine if it stops there. What you want to stop from happening is, this doesn't fit right. Oh my God, I shouldn't eat as much. I shouldn't have eaten all that last night, or I should probably run farther today, or oh my God, my arms always look so bad. Why can't they look like this? If you can stop it at, oh, that doesn't look great, and move on, like, think of just the like mental space and energy you will free up. So really just work on stopping it, like listening to how you talk to yourself. And can I like nip it like right when it starts and like, okay, that's not true. Just say it's not true. You don't have to suddenly have this amazingly positive thing to say about yourself, but that will come if you get used to stopping it, telling yourself it's not true, and then going from there. Yeah.
Do you ever find that people, so I think about sometimes the statements can feel true to people, like I'm not the girl with the 6-pack anymore, right? And when you have, an 8-month, 30-week pregnant belly, right? You're not that girl anymore. So how do you talk to people about that when the statement might actually be accurate? You don't have a 6-pack right now.
Yeah. And it's that I go back to this like fear and reality of like, if that's your biggest fear, which is true, you are not the girl with the 6-pack anymore. Think about who is affected by that. Because is it just you? Does anyone else care? And that, every time I'm like, no one, in the best way, no one cares about you.
Very loving way.
Right. It's so freeing to be like, oh, right, if I just can get over this, then I'm totally free from it, because no one else is paying it any mind. I mean, I always tell about this one client I worked with who owned a gym. She was a big runner, raced. I mean, she was like winning races, and she's like, people are asking me if I'm going to do this race. I'm clearly not. Like, she was doing IVF at the time. She's pregnant now. And I'm like, you just say, oh, I'm focused on other things, or like, oh yeah, I'm giving this season a break. Like, how about you? How's your training going? Like, just ask about them. They're not going to go home and like talk about you over dinner of like, she's not running. She does not have a six pack. They're not
even
going
close.
to spend any time thinking about it if they even notice. And that's the thing, like knowing that it's so much larger in your head, any of these changes. Many people won't notice. Most, if you are underweight, will say that you look much healthier. And
Wow.
some of that is the physical change, but a lot of that is that mental load. So if you can light that, if you stop caring that you're not the woman with the six pack anymore,
Right.
if you can live that fuller life, like that's just going to radiate, right? That's what they're going to pick up on and not notice so much anything else. Like it's really the energy that you're bringing versus, because you can look so much healthier with just a better attitude than
Right?
if you're obsessive and like, yes, you're lean and
Oh
thin,
my
but if
gosh.
you're a nightmare, you're not that enjoyable. So, really look at the bigger pictures, not just your looks. People like to be around you, not because of how you look. Like they enjoy hanging out with you because of what you talk about and what you're interested in. Look at those interests that you've put on the back burner, right? Who can you meet up with now? What do you have time to do now that you
Right.
would not have done before? Yeah.
They hang out with you because of your vibe, it sounds like you're saying.
Yes.
Yeah, which is
Yeah.
true.
Totally.
Yeah.
I
Yeah.
mean, and think about who your friends are. Do you notice if your friend gained 10 pounds, how much would you really talk about that? Like,
Right. Or judge it. Like, would you
you
even
might,
notice? I mean,
right. If you notice,
right.
maybe you would notice. And that's all it's going to be is that you notice and then you
Move
carry
on.
on with the conversation. Like, you're not, I mean, it really, and know that other people are doing that to you. Like,
Mhm.
you are the one judging yourself. So, yeah.
And so
And like,
that's the biggest
always.
relationship. Yeah.
Yeah, right, right. Because if you can stop caring, I think that with body image, what I find, and this happened to me, is once you reach the point where you're more frustrated that you're upset about it
Mhm.
and about how you look or about something with your image, if you're more upset that you are upset by it, then you're like almost there.
Yeah.
You're so close. It's like, why am I still
Um,
frustrated? Why am I still right? And once you're at that point, it's like, okay, you are ready. It's your decision. Do you want to be over it or not? Like you can put the
yeah.
energy into that. Right.
I love what you said too. It really is. I mean, if you want to just keep it neutral and non-judgy, it's just a habit. It's just a habit
Yeah. Yeah.
that you can break anytime. You can teach your brain to do something different over and over and over again. That's what a habit is, right?
Yes. Yeah.
So beautiful. So if somebody is listening right now or watching and they're really struggling with like eating or exercise or all related to their fertility, what are so like break everything down that we've said into like if you can do this because we talked about a lot of content, yay. But what are like your top three things that you would recommend people do, or couple to three things that you would suggest people start focusing on like right now?
um, I'd say for exercise, for one, take out the hit.
Yep.
um, and when I say listening to what your body needs, really start with the basis of like yoga and walking, of low intensity movement that you feel good with, but is nourishing to your body. So yeah, it's not like you can't exercise, but it's doing it in a way that is truly relaxing and truly helpful versus punishment and pounding and trying to burn calories. Like look at the focus of what your workouts are.
Mhm.
Um,
Love coming from a place of love.
yes, yes. And again, it's not like, oh, when you say, oh, well, I do this for stress relief, are you running because you'll feel guilty if you don't? Like that's not true stress relief, right?
Right.
um, how can you do something similar? Because if you love running, but you might need to take it out, walking, hiking, something that is still outdoors, maybe by yourself, these things that you like about it, that you like about running, just take out the intensity of it. Like, what does that look like without the intensity? Because I still go out and listen to my podcast, listen to my music. That is my time for myself. I'm just going at a slower pace. But you still get all these other benefits. Um, with food, I mean, like I said, like at least 2,200 should be hitting that goal. And don't feel like you have to count. Just look at where can I add food in. So healthy fats, making sure like 30% of your diet is healthy fats. Avocado, avocado, avocado.
Um,
My favorite. But where can you add in little things? If you're making a smoothie, throw in a scoop of peanut butter. I mean, cook with a little more butter. You know, olive oil, just add a little extra. So it doesn't have to be this like gorge fest where your, you know, stomach is upset because you're stuffing food in. It's just boosting calories where you can. Like I said, with the healthy fat, instead of like non-fat, low-fat dairy, get whole fat, right? Your stomach is having the same amount of yogurt, but you're getting more healthy calories in there. So doing that. Another one is to stop yourself from getting overwhelmed, because once information is great, but if all you're listening to, and you'll know when you start to get anxious and overwhelmed and confused, it really, I feel like, shows up as confusion over what to do because you're over analyzing it. So if all you're doing is reading about this, all you're doing is listening, you do need the information. But when you feel that sense of overwhelm, take at least a day or a couple days. Don't read anything about diet, fitness,
so fantastic.
Hormones. Just take a break. It's going to be there when you're ready for it. You've got the information. But I feel like it gets us way too in our heads. I do this with my business. If I'm listening to too much business stuff, I need to take a break because I'm way too in my head about it. And you need to be in your body. And the way to do that is to listen to something that makes you laugh, watch something else, listen to a different type of podcast, read different types of posts. Like, don't go into the fertility support groups. Don't, like, just take a break. It could be one day, it could be 3, whatever you need to not feel overwhelmed, because that is when you have these more of epiphanies or more listening to, this is what I need, versus, well, I listened to 10 podcasts and they kind of said different things, but you get very much into it. So go back and listen when you can, when you're not feeling confused and overwhelmed, because that's how it shows up, is I'm confused and overwhelmed. I don't know what to do. And it just means you've been listening too much. You're trying to consume it all. It's in there, it's in your brain. And if you go on a walk and are listening to, like, I don't know what other podcast you listen to. I listen to like true crime or like Q&A podcast. But when I'm listening to those and my mind is wandering, that's when I like have better ideas on, oh, this is what I need to be doing. Or this is what feels good. But it comes when you've kind of laid all that information in and then given it a rest. So as soon as you feel overwhelmed, just take a total break from it so you stop overthinking things.
That sounds like a lovely path towards reducing the obsession too, just taking a step back.
Yes, because you're a grown woman, you know how to feed yourself. It's when we listen to too much that we second guess. There's a lot of second guessing, there's a lot of overthinking. And so when you really trust that you trust your body's going to trust you. That's the biggest thing. Like, if you can trust your body's going to do it, then your body's like, oh, okay. She's giving me what she needs. Like, I can figure it out. And just give it a little time. We want it to be instant.
We do, don't we? Yes,
we do.
That's the way our culture is right now. Thank you very much.
Right.
Oh, wow. God, I want to end on that. Can I repeat that? You said, well, if you can repeat that, actually, because I don't remember the exact words at the beginning. If you trust something.
If you trust your body will trust you. Yes.
Beautiful.
You know what to do. Like, you know what to do. You're overthinking it is what's happening.
I love that.
It's the age of the internet. Yes, it's great, but Dr. Google is also terrifying. So
overwhelming. But Dr. Google knows everything.
Right? Yeah. Oh my God. No.
No. I wrote in my book, I wrote a chapter on being frugal with your Google, because what the heck, man.
I like that. Yes.
Wow, it sucks.
It can be forgetted or
yeah. So any last thoughts or final words, things I may have missed, words of hope, anything that you can offer folks?
just if you need to cut back on exercise, if you need to gain weight, it feels very overwhelming. And just remember that this is just a little phase. This is a little blip, and you'll come out much better, and you're going to have a much better relationship when you start exercising again. You'll have a much better relationship with it. That'll make things so much easier and more enjoyable, really.
Yes, it's all improving relationships. Yeah. Thank you, Samantha, so much. I appreciate your expertise and insights, wisdom. All of your information will be linked on the show notes, so people will be able to find you.
Yeah, come find me. This is all I talk about, so.
Yay. And I'm sure people need that tribe. Obviously.
You need that reminder.
Yeah. Yes.
It is hard to do by yourself. It really helps to have, that's why I coach. It helps to have someone to check in with, to be like, I don't know if I can do this. And have someone like, yes, you can. I did it. Here's what we're going to do. Just having, you need a game plan. I think that women that have HA or on that obsessive side need to have a plan. You just need a plan in the right direction.
Yeah. And no, you are not crazy.
Right.
Okay. Thank you so much, Samantha. I appreciate you.
Great. Thank you. It's so good.